April 21st, 2016. An elevator, Paisley Park, and the tragic end of a genius who could have been saved. When they found Prince dead that Thursday morning in the elevator of his beloved Paisley Park compound, the world stopped. The man who had left his mark on a generation's music, who had fought for artistic freedom like no one before him, was dead. He was 57 years old. But this wasn't just another celebrity death. This was a preventable tragedy hidden behind walls of privacy, masked by purple lights and superhuman performances. Nobody knew. Not his closest friends, not his fans who had watched him perform on stage just days earlier, not even his staff. Prince was dying, and he made sure nobody could see it, because that's who he was, a man who controlled everything, even his own suffering. The morning of April 21st was supposed to be normal. Staff arrived at Paisley Park to spend another day filled with the rhythm of music and genius. Instead, they found silence. Prince wasn't in the studio. He wasn't in his private quarters. And when someone checked the elevator, the small, unassuming elevator that connected the floors of his creative sanctuary, there he was, unresponsive, alone. The man who had filled stadiums with thousands was found in the quietest, loneliest space imaginable. The 911 call came at 9:43 a.m. "The person is dead here," the caller said, voice shaking. 6 minutes later, when the medical team arrived at the scene, there was nothing they could do. Prince had died hours earlier. The Carver County Sheriff's Office would later announce the autopsy results. Fentanyl, a painkiller so powerful, so dangerous, that it's 50 times stronger than heroin. It wasn't recreational. It wasn't a party gone wrong. This was a man in agony, trying to survive. But you haven't seen the most shocking part yet, because those final 12 days before April 21st tell a story nobody wanted to believe. April 7th, 2016, Atlanta. Prince performed 2 shows at the Fox Theater. Everything was just as the audience expected. Electric, enigmatic, flawless. He played Purple Rain. He played Kiss. He enchanted the crowd in a way that only Prince could do. But backstage, those who knew him saw something different. He looked tired. Not the usual post-show exhaustion, something deeper, something wrong. April 14th, Moline, Illinois. Another performance on his piano and a microphone tour. Stripped down. Intimate. Just Prince, a piano, and thousands of people hanging on every note. But midway through the show, something happened. Prince paused, told the crowd he wasn't feeling well. "Wait a few days before you waste your prayers," he said. It was supposed to be a joke. Nobody laughed when they heard what came next. The Moline show was supposed to be pure Prince, minimalist, vulnerable, raw. No band, no backup singers, no production. Just him and a piano playing songs from across his 40-year career. Some classics, some deep cuts, some improvisations that would never be heard again. It was the kind of show that made fans feel they were witnessing something sacred, something unrepeatable. And they were right. It was the last time most of them would see Prince perform. During controversy, Prince's playing slowed. His hands, usually so precise, so confident, seemed uncertain. He stopped, looked at the crowd, made that comment about prayers. Some people thought it was part of the show, Prince being enigmatic as always. Others felt a chill. Something was wrong. But Prince finished the show. He always finished the show. That was the rule, no matter what. After the Moline show, Prince's private plane was flying him back to Minnesota. But the plane didn't make it home. It made an emergency landing in Moline. Prince was unresponsive. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital. His representatives told the world it was the flu. Just the flu. Rest and he'd be fine. But it wasn't the flu. Prince had overdosed. Narcan, the opioid reversal drug, saved his life that night. The hospital wanted to keep him for observation. Prince refused. He wanted to go home, to Paisley Park, to his sanctuary. What would you do? If you were in unbearable pain, if every performance felt like climbing a mountain with broken legs, but stopping meant admitting weakness, would you ask for help? Or would you keep going, keep performing, keep pretending everything was under control? Prince chose control. He always chose control. From the moment he entered the music industry as a teenager, Prince had one rule. Nobody tells Prince what to do. Not Warner Brothers, not managers, not producers, nobody. That fierce independence made him a legend. It also killed him. Think about it. A 19-year-old kid walks into Warner Brothers Records in 1977 with one demand. I play all the instruments. I produce myself. I control everything. Most record executives would have laughed him out of the room, but they heard the demo tapes. They heard the genius, so they said yes. And Prince spent the next decade proving them right, and the next decade after that, proving why control mattered so much to him. The Warner Brothers war of the 1990s became legendary. Prince wanted to release more music, faster. Warner wanted calculated rollouts, maximum profit. Prince wrote SLAVE on his face and appeared in public that way. He changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol just to get out of his contract. The industry thought he was crazy. But Prince was fighting for something bigger. Ownership, control, the right to decide when, where, and how his art reached the world. He won that battle. Eventually. In 1996, his Warner contract ended, and he celebrated by releasing a 3-disc album, Emancipation, as a free man. But the scars remained. The distrust of the industry, the need to control every detail, the paranoia that someone was always trying to take something from him. Those scars shaped everything that came after, including how he handled his own decline. The pain started years earlier. Hip problems. Decades of performing in high heels, of leaping off speakers, of giving everything to every show had destroyed his joints. Friends said he could barely walk sometimes. But on stage, he was a god. He'd take painkillers, go out there, and defy physics. The audience never knew. That was the point. Prince didn't want sympathy. He wanted perfection. February 4th, 2007. Super Bowl 41 halftime show. Miami. It was pouring rain. Any other artist would have asked to reschedule or modify the performance. Prince? He asked the producers, "Can you make it rain harder?" That 12-minute performance in the middle of a downpour became the greatest Super Bowl halftime show in history. Prince played Purple Rain in actual rain. The symbolism was perfect. The execution was flawless. And nobody watching knew that his hips were killing him, that every movement hurt, that he'd taken medication just to be able to dance. That was Prince's gift and curse, the ability to transform pain into art, to suffer in private and shine in public, to never let anyone see behind the curtain. It worked for decades, until it didn't. After the emergency landing, Prince should have rested. Doctors should have intervened. Someone should have made him stop. But Paisley Park's gates remained closed. Prince retreated into his compound and the world moved on. He has the flu, the headlines said. He's recovering. But inside those purple-lit halls, Prince was fighting a battle he couldn't win alone. April 15th. The day after the emergency landing, Prince made a public appearance. Paisley Park hosted a dance party. He wanted to show everyone he was fine. He came out, waved to the crowd, even cracked jokes. "Wait a few days before you waste your prayers," he repeated. But those who looked closely saw it. The exhaustion in his eyes, the way he held himself, the brevity of his appearance. He left after a few minutes. It would be the last time most people saw him alive. Wait a minute. Don't miss this detail, because what happened in those final 6 days is where the real tragedy unfolds. Behind Paisley Park's walls, Prince's team was scrambling. They knew about the overdose. They knew he needed help. On April 20th, the day before his death, they made a desperate call. Dr. Howard Kornfeld, a California addiction specialist, was contacted. Prince's people begged him to come immediately. Dr. Kornfeld couldn't fly out himself, so he sent his son, Andrew Kornfeld, carrying buprenorphine, a medication used to treat opioid addiction. Andrew was supposed to meet with Prince on April 21st, evaluate him, and start treatment. But April 21st came too soon. Andrew Kornfeld arrived at Paisley Park the morning of the 21st. He was the one who found Prince in the elevator. He was the one who called 911. The medication that could have saved Prince's life was in Andrew's bag, unused. They were 1 day too late. Just 1 day. How does a man who controlled every aspect of his life lose control so completely? How does someone surrounded by people die alone in an elevator? The answer is heartbreaking. Because Prince built walls. Not physical ones, though Paisley Park's gates certainly kept the world out, but emotional ones. He was generous, yes. He gave millions to charity, supported countless artists, opened his home for community events. But he never let anyone truly in, never let anyone see the pain. Kirk Johnson, Prince's longtime friend and collaborator, later said something that haunts everyone who knew him. He was in pain every day, every single day. And Prince never complained, never asked for help, never showed weakness. Because showing weakness wasn't part of the Prince persona. The Purple One didn't need saving. He was the one who saved others. The autopsy report released weeks later confirmed what many feared. Prince died of an accidental overdose of fentanyl, but the word accidental feels inadequate. This wasn't a man partying too hard. This was a man in chronic pain, taking medication to survive, who accidentally took too much. The pills found at Paisley Park were labeled as hydrocodone. They contained fentanyl. Prince may not have even known what he was taking. You won't believe what investigators found at Paisley Park after his death. Pills everywhere. Not in medicine bottles with prescriptions, in vitamin bottles, in aspirin containers, hidden in plain sight. Some pills were counterfeit, some were legitimate prescriptions. The lines were blurred. Prince wasn't trying to get high, he was trying to function. But somewhere along the way, the medication that was supposed to help became the thing that killed him. The criminal investigation that followed tried to answer one question. Where did Prince get the pills? Who prescribed them? Who supplied them? 2 years of investigation led to no charges. The trail went cold. Whoever gave Prince those pills, whether knowingly or unknowingly, disappeared into the shadows. Justice for Prince came in the form of awareness. His death forced a national conversation about the opioid epidemic, about pain management, about the deadly danger of fentanyl. But that conversation couldn't bring him back. Let's talk about Paisley Park itself, because the compound isn't just a building, it's a window into Prince's soul. He purchased it in 1985, at the height of his Purple Rain fame. 65,000 square feet of creative space. Recording studios, rehearsal stages, editing bays, costume departments. It was everything Prince needed to create without interference. Warner Brothers wanted him in their studios, on their schedule. Prince wanted freedom, so he built his own kingdom. Walking through Paisley Park is like walking through Prince's mind. Every room tells a story. Studio A, where he recorded countless albums, walls lined with gold and platinum records. The soundstage where he filmed music videos and hosted secret concerts. The costume room, filled with the extravagant outfits that made Prince a fashion icon. The purple suits, the ruffled shirts, the symbol necklace. And everywhere, the color purple. His signature, his identity. But Paisley Park was also a fortress. High walls, controlled access, privacy above all else. Prince lived there, worked there, rarely left. It was his sanctuary, yes, but it was also his prison. When you build walls that high, nobody can get in, not even to help, not even to save your life. The night of April 20th, Prince's last night alive, is shrouded in mystery. Some staff members said he seemed fine earlier that day. Others said he looked exhausted. He was alone in Paisley Park that night, or mostly alone. The compound was so vast, you could be surrounded by people and still be completely isolated. Security cameras captured some of his movements. He went to his private quarters. He took the elevator. And somewhere in those quiet hours, everything went wrong. The toxicology report showed fentanyl levels that were staggeringly high. Experts said it was likely instantaneous. Once that much fentanyl hits your system, there's no time to call for help, no time to realize something's wrong. Prince probably felt relief at first, relief from the chronic pain that had plagued him for years. And then nothing. The man who had given the world so much music, so much joy, so much innovation, slipped away in silence. Now, the shocking truth nobody talks about. Prince knew he was in trouble. The call to Dr. Kornfeld wasn't made lightly. Prince's inner circle knew. They were trying to get him help. But they were fighting against Prince's own nature. He didn't want the world to know he was struggling. He didn't want headlines about addiction or weakness. So they worked in secret, trying to arrange treatment quietly, trying to save him without exposure. And they ran out of time. What about his music? What about the legendary vault of unreleased recordings? After Prince's death, Paisley Park's vault was opened. Thousands of songs, complete albums that had never seen the light of day. Decades of creativity locked away because Prince was never satisfied, always perfecting, always controlling when and how his music reached the world. Some of those songs have been released posthumously. Many remain locked away. Prince's final creative output, frozen in time. His family and estate have worked to preserve his legacy. Paisley Park is now a museum, open to the public. Fans can walk the same halls Prince walked, see the same studios where he created magic, stand on the same stages where he performed secret shows. But the elevator where he died, is closed off, hidden behind curtains. Some things are too sacred, too painful to display. Minneapolis changed after Prince died. The city had always been proud of its favorite son, but his death transformed that pride into something deeper. Purple streetlights were installed. Murals appeared on buildings. First Avenue, the nightclub where he filmed Purple Rain, became a shrine. Fans left flowers, notes, purple balloons. The city mourned collectively, publicly, in a way Prince himself never would have wanted. But maybe that public mourning was what he needed, what he never let himself have while alive. The Jehovah's Witness community, which Prince had joined in 2001, held their own private memorial. His faith had been deeply important to him in his later years. He'd go door to door like other members, quietly sharing his beliefs, trying to live a life of humility despite his fame. Some saw it as another form of control, controlling his image, his persona, his legacy. Others saw it as a genuine search for meaning. Maybe it was both. Maybe Prince was always searching for something he could never quite find. Peace. The lawsuits came quickly after his death. Prince died without a will. A man who controlled every aspect of his career left no instructions for what should happen after he was gone. Maybe he thought he had time. Maybe he couldn't face his own mortality. Siblings, half-siblings, claimed estates. Business partners fought over rights. The man who fought Warner Brothers for ownership of his master recordings left his own legacy in legal chaos. It took years to sort out. And through it all, Prince's music kept playing, kept inspiring, kept reminding the world of what was lost. The memorial service held at Paisley Park was invitation only. Close friends, family, collaborators. Stevie Wonder performed. The revolution reunited. The music that had defined generations filled the air. But the absence was deafening. Prince wasn't there to play guitar, to improvise, to take control. The artist who had always been the center of every performance was just a memory. Looking back now, the signs were there. Not just in those final 12 days, but for years. Friends who had worked with Prince in the 2000s noticed changes. He wasn't as energetic. His performances, while still amazing, required more recovery time. The painkillers were an open secret among those close to him. But Prince's mystique, his privacy, his control over his image, it all created a barrier. Nobody could intervene. Nobody could say, "Stop, get help. The music isn't worth your life." Except the music was worth his life to Prince. That was the tragedy. Music wasn't just what he did, it was who he was. To stop performing, to admit he couldn't do it anymore, would be like admitting he wasn't Prince anymore. So he pushed through the pain. He took pills to function, and eventually those pills took everything. The opioid epidemic that killed Prince has only gotten worse. Fentanyl deaths have skyrocketed. The pills that look like prescription medication but contain deadly amounts of synthetic opioids are everywhere. Prince's death brought attention to the crisis, but it didn't stop it. If anything, his death proved how insidious the problem is. Even someone with resources, with people trying to help, with access to treatment, even they can fall victim. What would have happened if Prince had gotten help? If he'd canceled that last tour, admitted he needed treatment, taken time away from performing? Would his fans have understood? Would the industry have supported him? Or would it have been seen as weakness, as failure, as the end of the Prince mystique? We'll never know. But maybe, just maybe, honesty would have saved his life. The final recordings Prince made, the last songs he wrote, remain largely unheard. But those who have heard them say something interesting. They're different, more reflective, more personal. As if Prince knew his time was running out, as if he was trying to leave something behind. Not the flashy performances or the genre-defying hits, something deeper, a message, a goodbye. His influence didn't die with him. Artists still cite Prince as an inspiration. His fight for artistic control paved the way for musicians to own their masters. His genre-blending innovation opened doors for countless others. His fashion, his attitude, his refusal to be categorized. It all lives on. But the man himself, the genius who created it all, is gone. And no amount of influence or legacy can fill that void. The purple became darker after April 21st, 2016. Fans around the world lit purple lights, wore purple clothing, held purple vigils. From Minneapolis to London, from Tokyo to Paris, the world mourned in purple. But underneath the tributes, underneath the celebrations of his life, there was anger. Anger that it didn't have to end this way. Anger that someone so talented, so important, died from something preventable. Anger that pride and privacy created a wall nobody could climb. If you visit Paisley Park today, you'll see his guitars, his costumes, his awards. You'll see the rooms where magic was made, but you'll also feel the emptiness, the silence where there should be music, the stillness where there should be movement. Prince's presence is gone, and no amount of preservation can bring it back. The building is a museum now, not a home. The creative energy that once filled every corner has dissipated into memory. The lesson of Prince's death isn't just about opioids or pain management. It's about the danger of isolation, of pride, of building walls so high that help can't reach you. It's about the deadly combination of chronic pain and inadequate treatment options. It's about a society that expects performers to be superhuman, never showing weakness, never admitting struggle. Prince lived up to those expectations until it killed him. Could someone have saved him? Yes, absolutely. If he'd accepted help sooner, if the culture around pain and addiction were different, if privacy hadn't been more important than life, the help was coming, Dr. Kornfeld's son was on his way. But 24 hours made all the difference. One day too late. One day that changed everything. The music plays on. Purple Rain still brings crowds to tears. When Doves Cry still makes people dance. Kiss still grooves through speakers worldwide. Prince's catalog is eternal. But the man who created it, who poured his soul into every note, every lyric, every performance is gone, and the world is quieter for it. What would you have done if you were Prince, in constant pain, watching your body betray the art you love? Would you have stopped? Would you have asked for help? Or would you have kept going, kept performing, kept controlling the narrative until there was nothing left to control? Prince made his choice. He chose the music, the performance, the mystique. He chose privacy over help, pride over vulnerability, art over life. And on April 21st, 2016, in a small elevator in Paisley Park, that choice became final. The Purple One had left the building, and he was never coming back. But his voice remains. Every time someone plays a Prince song, every time a young musician picks up a guitar because of his influence, every time an artist fights for control of their work, Prince is there. Not in body, but in spirit. The music he gave us, the legacy he left, the doors he opened, that's eternal. The tragedy is that he should still be here, creating new music, inspiring new generations. Instead, we're left with what was, what could have been, and the heartbreaking reality of what we lost. The elevator at Paisley Park is hidden now, out of view from tours, but it's still there, a silent reminder of that morning, a space where genius ended, where control slipped away, where the man who had spent his entire life creating beauty met the ugly reality of mortality. And somewhere in that small, confined space, Prince took his last breath, alone, in pain. In the one place he thought he'd always be safe. That's the tragic truth behind Prince's final days at Paisley Park. Not a story of excess or recklessness, a story of pain, pride, privacy, and the deadly consequences of suffering in silence. A story of a genius who gave everything to his art and had nothing left for himself. A story that didn't have to end this way, but did. Because sometimes even legends need saving. And sometimes the walls we build to protect ourselves become the very things that trap us. The purple lights still glow at Paisley Park, but the music has stopped, and the world is still listening for one more song, one more performance, one more glimpse of the genius we lost too soon. Prince is gone, but the heartbreak, the loss, the what-ifs, they remain, and they always will. His guitars sit silent in glass cases now. The stage at Paisley Park is empty. The vault of unreleased music is locked, guarded by lawyers and estate managers. The genius who created freely for 40 years is frozen in time, his final works trapped in legal limbo, his final thoughts unknown. We got the music, we got the legend, but we lost the man, and that trade was never worth it. If Prince could speak now, what would he say? Would he regret the pride that kept him from asking for help? Would he tell young artists to be kinder to their bodies, to prioritize health over perfection? Would he admit that control isn't worth dying for? We'll never know. The elevator at Paisley Park keeps its secrets. And Prince, the most private of public figures, took his final truth to the grave. All we're left with is the music, the memories, and the painful knowledge that legends can die just like anyone else. Prince wasn't superhuman, despite what he made us believe. He was human. Beautifully, tragically human. And on April 21st, 2016, that humanity ended in the loneliest possible way. The world is still purple, but it's a darker shade now. The shade of loss, the shade of preventable tragedy, the shade of a genius who deserved better than an elevator floor. Prince gave us everything, and we couldn't give him the one thing he needed, a reason to ask for help before it was too late.